The Anvil Liberator is an upcoming sub-capital ship in Star Citizen, harmonizing well with what excites a lot of players by riffing on the light carrier theme. With a few places to carry fighter-sized craft and ground vehicles, it really comes as no surprise that the Liberator is hotly anticipated. I'm Forrester, and welcome to the Drydock, a series which delves deeper into the ships of Star Citizen. This video will explore the background behind the Liberator both in and out of game, then take a look at some of the attributes and statistics of the ship, before considering how that might all translate into gameplay. There are timestamps in the video description, although if you're interested in the Liberator, you might prefer to watch this one all the way through. And whilst this channel usually focuses on what's currently in-game, necessarily this video will navigate the treacherous space that is speculation territory. Whilst every effort has been made to approach this video accurately, sometimes information is sparse and much is subject to change as time goes along, so please treat the content with a pinch of salt and not as a definitive promise as to what will happen. All of that said, let's dive into the background of the Liberator. The Liberator was first announced during CitizenCon 2951 back in October 2021. That announcement was shortly followed by a Q&A on the RSI website. As a relatively recently announced ship, there isn't a great deal of in-game information available about the Liberator yet. Give it time, I suppose. On announcement in 2021, the Liberator was offered for sale for $575 or $500 of new money. Obviously, that price doesn't include the ships that the Liberator would inevitably carry aboard. The stated purpose for the Liberator is as a transport ship, designed to load up smaller ships and ground vehicles and get them from A to B, potentially well beyond the range of each individual ship, and potentially without large crew requirements. Naturally, however, players will be considering the possibility of using the Liberator as a mobile landing pad for a small squadron of ships, a purpose which is sort of acknowledged by the manufacturer. Based on current information, the Liberator would have a total length of 122 meters, a total width or beam of around 68 meters, and a total height or depth of 24 meters. There are some conflicting sources out there with marginally different dimensions. For context, that's very close in terms of size to a Carrack currently in-game. The total mass of the Liberator is still to be determined. By way of components, the Liberator is expected to house a medium radar as well as a medium-sized computer. Power is expected to be provided by a large power plant, with cooling provided by 2 large coolers. Defensively, the Liberator would carry 2 large shield generators. The Liberator specifications list 2 large fuel intakes, 2 large hydrogen fuel tanks, and 2 large quantum fuel tanks. Both the quantum drive and jump drive are set to be large size. The planned propulsion and thrusters are not yet disclosed. By way of armament, the Liberator is planned to include a single manned turret armed with dual size 5 laser repeaters. Additionally, there are 2 automated turrets armed with 2 size 2 weapons designed to provide point defense. The Liberator is further expected to carry 4 missile racks armed with size 3 missiles. Some of you may have noticed that with a single manned turret atop the ship, the Liberator may be a little vulnerable from some angles. Some of the literature surrounding the ship acknowledges that fighters could be deployed from the landing pads to help defend the ship, as well as noting that the Liberator is equipped with medium to heavy armour to further bolster the defences. The crew specifications for the Liberator note a minimum crew of 1 to a maximum crew of 2. You might think that sounds very unusual for a ship that carries other ships, but in all likelihood this relates to the role of the Liberator as a transporter rather than as a carrier. Realistically, you might expect on combat operations when including the crew for the carried ships, the Liberator could be home for 5 or 6 players. 1 pilot, 1 gunner, 3 pilots for attached craft, and potentially an engineer for home duties, as well as manual resupply operations. Interestingly, the Liberator concept art shows 16 jump seats on one side of the ship, which would certainly suggest that the life support aboard could handle higher crew numbers than the stated maximum of 2, even if perhaps they might need to share a bed. The primary function of the Liberator is to carry other ships, and so the main feature is the landing facilities aboard. On the exterior are 3 landing pads for extra small ships, which according to the Q&A includes ships like the Sabre, Hornet, Arrow and Prospector. Internally there is a garage/internal hangar with room for extra small vehicles, like the Argo MPUV or 85X, or for ground vehicles like a Greycat Rock or Nova Tank. This vehicle bay also includes a ramp at the front and rear for drive-on, drive-off options. Attached to one side of the internal hangar is a 400 SCU cargo bay. It's worth noting that this is additional to the hangar, so it will likely be possible to have the hangar in use at the same time as a full cargo bay. Other amenities on board include a docking port, armory, jump room with lockers and seating for 16 roles, and a tractor beam to support moving ships on and off the Liberator. Then of course there are the usual things like crew quarters and the like. Given that the core Liberator design is as a vehicle transporter, it follows that this would also be a gameplay option for the ship. For the sort of occasion where you have to move a lot of ships from A to B, like perhaps you're rebasing from one planet to another and need to move things along, or to help other players do the same. Over the coming years, as Star Citizen may get more physicalized, it's hard to downplay the value of a ship like the Liberator in making that move much easier. Then there's the light carrier role. Put a squadron of fighters aboard, fly out to the general vicinity of a target, and unleash that firepower. Whilst it's noted in the Q&A that any refueling, rearming or repairing of onboard craft would need to be done manually, suggesting it may not be something you might do effectively in a combat scenario, it's also hard to ignore that carrying 3 to 5 fighters of various sizes to a battlefield could swing many a fight. This might be especially useful in larger star systems, where essentially the Liberator would significantly extend the operational range of a fighter squadron. Then there are the less combat-focused choices. The Star Citizen website talks about the Prospector being able to fit aboard, and so perhaps the Liberator could form the hub of a small mining operation. Up to 3 Prospectors, maybe a snub fighter/scout in the internal bay to help defend the group if needs be, and find the next rock, and then the big cargo bay aboard the Liberator as a place to store extra saddlebags before heading back to sell them in bulk. And the natural fleet role for the Liberator carries forward from that sort of use case, as a flagship for a squadron of fighters. In smaller situations that may be just the Liberator, but even in larger fights involving capital ships, there may still be some utility in being able to deploy the squadron and then finding a relatively safe area of the battlefield to sit back from the fight. It's probably worth adding that the fighter squadron might include a mix of fighters and smaller carrier-borne bombers like the Gladiator, which would give the squadron the flexibility to engage larger targets. Obviously, the firepower of such options would require ships beyond just the Liberator, but the flexibility of the Liberator as a platform to unlock that kind of gameplay is the key feature. Regardless, the concept for the Liberator is one of a mobile set of landing pads, and that is understandably exciting to many players when it eventually hits the verse. But at the risk of going on for too long, we'll draw a line under the Liberator here, and so it's over to you to share your thoughts in the video comments. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, you might like to do that too, so that you can get the heads up for new videos on the channel, as well as dropping 3 landing pads on the like button if you like heavily narrated slideshows talking about fictional spaceships. Otherwise, and as always, thank you for watching.